to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our second series of the night between Ragnarok and DVN in Infinity. I'm Dessa, being joined by Mr. Sandbag here. Sandbag, it's upper bracket games here for SLE. How excited are you?
I am very excited to be back here. I was fortunate enough to kick off the playoffs here at the SLE, so coming back from my second helpings, we had our appetizer, and now we're looking for the real meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's gonna be replay games, so the amount of meat, the amount of potatoes, in my opinion, not gonna be as big as it is in live games. But these are two teams I think it's gonna be exciting regardless, because ninth and eighth ending the regular season on 9 and 7 on both sides, so it should be a pretty even matchup heading into this. And I also know that at least on the side of Ragnarok, there's a lot of seniority coming in, especially with this bot lane, so this should be some good games.
Absolutely. Sometimes the experience ends up making a big difference in more pressure games, right? Once there's a little bit more on the line. You've been here, you've done that. It's a little bit less of the jitters. So seeing if that weighs out. Or on the other side, some youth, some energy, right? Some fresh faces going to be taking them on.
Oh yeah, for sure. And of course, one of the champions, of course, going a little bit into what I expect to be banned, even though it is real and we're not gonna see the draft live, but still, a couple of the champions I expect to be taken off the table is gonna be that way, at least to be started off with, because Ragnarok, I know Alias, big fan of the way. Granted, Alias is gonna be playing AD carry, so maybe not worth the ban, but Darius as well. We saw Darius, well, I mean, Sandbag, you saw Darius being played by Linus in live, and I believe they led to a pentakill as well, squealing with a lot of games on his Darius, so potentially something we could as well see taken off the table.
Yeah, shoutouts to Linus with the BM grief death into Pentakill Redemption arc. He was really doing it for the fans that game. He's gotten both ends of the Darius spectrum. I would also agree. Even that being said, the Hui saying, yeah, 80 carry role, you can still play that bot no problem. The AoEs, the wave clear, all of the things it provides for the Hui still translate to a 2v2 lane instead of a 1v1 lane. I personally still ban that. Absolutely, it's comfort for this man.
Yeah, and Hui, another one of those champions where if you are good at it, it can be very oppressive to play against a big kid with double the abilities of any other champion in the game. So a lot there to work with. But with this being replaced, draft should be up and available. So I think without further ado, we should be good to go. And I'm already seeing a Jinx Milio on the side of Ragnarok. So the scaling is gonna be there, as well as a Jax. So a lot to go into this late game if it does get there.
Yeah, and then the Anivia on top, right? This late game team fight will basically hit the older brother maneuver of putting the hand on the forehead and saying, you can't get close. There is just no way to ever gap close into the amount of range and control that you have out of that side. And the other side, tons of CC, tons of pick, but very front loaded. This game hits 30 and this game just ends.
Oh yeah, for sure. These are two teams that I think both have geared up for the late game with the GP on the side of DVN Infinity, a champion I didn't expect to see today, least of all I think coming out from them. Gangplank is a champion that we don't really tend to see too often, just because it requires so much skill to pilot and it requires time, right? Because Gangplank's always been one of those champions where you need to get items, you need to get levels before your champion becomes useful. A lot of the times the games don't get that far. But this, like we said, this is a game with a lot of scaling. So I think if you're gonna pick Gangplank into any team, a team like Ragnarok's where they wanna hit that late game status is the perfect way to go, I think.
Gangplank, sure, he can keep up later on. He's got answers for some of these things, right? You can cleanse your Counter Strike, you can cleanse that Anivia Q. Jin Nautilus, Ari, Volibear, though, you just don't have that late game firepower to keep up. So I believe the lead must be created and ended early. Turn it into a soul, turn it into a gold lead, because even playing fields, this blue side draft is not keeping up later on, but it does have early agency.
Yeah, I mean they've got the champions for it, right? You said that you need to create an advantage. Jin, Nautilus, Volibear, these champions are great because they have the ability to do just that. The Deadly Flourish, for example, out of Jhin, a great way for that long range route to hit, as well as the Nautilus hook. And Volibear is a champion that we are seeing nowadays more so, and great at creating those early advantages, a lot of early gank potential. I feel like, especially for this bot lane. So I would love to see the side of DV and Infinity really focus this bot lane and really try to get them ahead with all the CC they have in that lane. But finally, onto the Rift for our first game of the second series of the day.
Yep, replays or not, I'm still looking forward to seeing these playoffs continue to unfold in front of our eyes as we do see a 5-man stack trying to lead through, but Squirrel under fire can always just hop on out of this, moving forwards with an Nautilus. He just backpedals, doesn't drop the ward, doesn't even give him the satisfaction, and just heads on out.
Yeah, Squirrel actually started with an early Q there. I saw, so they even have the jump if he does end up getting caught, but does have great awareness, sees them coming very early on. This does mean a potential ward here could be dropped by the side of DV and Infinity, and there it is. I believe it was Selul who ended up dropping that one. Is gonna hit the back button. A ward on the other side of the jungle. So far, despite it being an invade, no kills traded, no early action, but it is vision traded for both sides.
Yep, handshaking across the map. It's actually Famal who is dropping the ward. You can see bottom of your screen. AD carry is still going to retain
Oh,
his
yeah.
moving forwards. You can just swap over to Sweeper if you want. Once the Volibear, he actually elects to just keep his trinket, not looking for a sweep, as matched starts. Both starting on the bot side, clearing towards top. Collision course for Crack.
And actually, speaking of trinkets, both trinkets used by this bot lane on the side of Ragnarok. So if Amal does end up going for an early gank in the bot lane, yes, they will know where he starts, but they're not actually gonna know or be sure of when he is approaching. And you do see as well, Alias is gonna opt in for the Ghost to give him some of that more late game power. Ghost tends to be better when it comes to scaling, when it does come to exhaust or heal or any of the other alternatives that there are. And we already said this Jinx wants to go into the late game, so a good pickup out of him. But like you said, Famal gonna be clearing towards the top side, which I'm not entirely convinced on.
Unless you feel like you can really impact top early and then transition to camping out the spot lane and really harassing. Yes, Gangplank is a late game powerhouse, but he can also still fight it out early with that barrel minigame. And a lead can really start rolling up top lane if it's too fragile or more fragile champs into one another.
Yeah, for sure. And you are actually seeing a potential invade here out of Famal. He is walking towards those raptors. We could have some early interaction. Just Ryan might not be able to spot him out.
No vision. The ward is not going to have been in time. Counter-Strike connecting onto Volibear on accident. Great timing for the Jax. And he's going to backpedal. Meanwhile, up top lane, Gangplank is one auto from... But the brush is going to be temporary, pushing out the bear due to those top TPs.
Yeah, there is a solo bolo in the top lane very early on. Squeeble, like you said, just one auto attack off of dying. Zera's now gonna take a little bit of a charge there on the electrocute, but Kraken just gonna be able to walk away. And already we spoke about sort of impacting this top lane, right? Famal didn't even make his way up there, and already seeing a solo kill. Gangplank definitely a late game scaling champion, but you still gotta try to survive the early game.
Yeah, and currently your equipment to do that is one of the most miserable buys I think I've ever seen. Glowing moat refillable. That is not even balling on a budget. That is just poor, unfortunately.
He is slimming it just fine though with the gank.
Oh no, he has flash and cleanse to use, ordering those flash out, cleanse late, dies all the same. Glowing moat! Not enough survivability. He dies post TP. Meanwhile, mid, charm a fraction away. And Nivea is going to be able to keep egg.
That is pixels off of hitting on the charm right there. Zera's pretty unlucky there, but another gank towards the top lane. Daxon, I think, might be fishing for a hook here, but his Zebra is just able to walk away. And again, another kill in the top lane. You can see Ruben just tries to crash the wave, but not being able to do so on time. Just right now towards the bot side of the map. Potentially can look for a gank here if they can keep this wave out, but it will just be a recall from SLE and no gank on the bot lane.
Yep, no gank to be had, just recalls junglers resorting to their camps as you see just Ryan fighting that one down, moving on in. I'm looking forward to some grub fights. Jax, Volibear, both of which are capable of really duking it out early on, and some more PvP hopefully to be had.
And that lethal tempo on just Ryan as well, if he can proc it in some of these early fights, lethal tempo, once sort of you get that fully stacked up, once you get it fully procced, it is a lot of attack speed to have in the early game. And a lot of people say that glowing mode is the worst, or at least one of the worst components in the game. So that I feel like definitely never feels good to buy, but you can see if Ruben can hit those barrels, if he can get the combos going, definitely can chunk out Squeeble.
I mean, glowing mode is like mathematically horrific. It is wildly expensive for the stats that you get, and refillable again, not exactly much combat power, and yet a little bit more Q spam, a couple more CDs here and there, it can mean something, but for now, GP just wants to turtle because there's going to be a lot of this in the future.
And this isn't even like the old GP where you could just go Kleptomancy and you could just spam Q on your enemy and just gather up mana potions, gather up gold. That was a golden time, but Grub's not gonna be taken by the side of Ragnarok in the top side. Gonna be traded for a Dragon. A Hextector and does have some pretty nice stats early on into the game. Definitely one of the better ones, I feel like. So the side of Ragnarok with them being able to scale up and maybe potentially hit these towers later on into the game, I feel like might not be too sad about that.
No, not at all. Just the handshake that has become the norm across many leagues, many places of Grub is one side, Drake on the other. Unless something is going truly badly, you'll at least be able to get something back cross map.
Yeah, and it does just tend to be the trade of objectives. So far we have seen after that sort of first gank in the top lane, after the first solo kill in the top lane, the game has calmed down a little bit, but as I say, that Famil might try to change that because he is eyeing a potential gank in the bot side. Just Ryan is in the enemy jungle doing, I'm not entirely sure what, but trying to gank the top lane at the moment.
Yep. Both junglers deep in enemy territory. Just Ryan aimed down level 6. He has that Grandmaster's Might. Ruben, no flash. Cleanse has been expended. It's up to Xyrus to try and make a hasty retreat. Spirit Rush moving backwards. Will escape from that boomerang slow as they continue to give chase. One more charge should be enough distance bot. If the angle is right, Charm goes wide, however, over the wall. There it goes. The disengage from one solo, but top not so fortunate.
Yeah, Zero's gonna be forced to use a Spirit Rush there. Does still have the flash, so should be relatively safe in this mid lane, but still, it is Ruben again ends up falling. This is now a 0-3 Gangplank. Gnar getting himself quite a healthy lead here. You can see those steel caps already both up. A Sheen now onto Ruben, very much more useful than the moat is, but Xerus with a solo death in the mid lane. Kraken, a solo kill.
Nivea picking up solo kills on the Ari at 8 minutes does not bode well for this supposed Develian early game. I will say that much.
Yeah, this is definitely, I feel like, not a good look because we spoke about Ragnarok, right? Their comp aimed for the late game. The Jinx, the Millia, the Anivia, all of them scale up fantastically. And it is the early game. We're not even past 10 minutes and already an early lead for them. 4 kills in their pocket as Dax almost hits a hook on bot lane.
We're gonna need to see a change of pace. I hoping to see that this jungler comes online. Volibear, now that he's 6, maybe trying to look for a tower dive, maybe looking for overloading one side with Ari roams, but you gotta do something early, because if this status quo is maintained, this will be a rather short affair as Ragnarok's mid charmed up. Xyrus has no R, has no flash, but will be able to retreat into the waiting arms of the bear.
Yeah, and Xerus, again, Spirit Rush almost up and available. Didn't have it right there, no flash either. So if any of that CC landed, might have been in trouble, but a hook on the bot lane.
Rude connecting alongside that dredge line forces the flash. The shooting gallery opens up. Curtain call marching forwards. Volibear flashing in for the point and click stun. Bringing the lightning down on the bot lane of Ragnarok. Easy does it. 2 will fall. We talked about upsetting status quo. We talked about jungle getting involved. He heard us loud and clear.
Definitely take your advice to heart there. As you can see, all of this starts with a great hook by Dax here and an even better deadly flourish, I feel like, out of Cello. The root does end up hitting. This is a good job from Zebreeze to try to keep his AD carry alive. Alias ends up burning flash there early on as well. Famal a little bit hesitant there, you can see go, but eventually does end up pulling the trigger. The stun is good as well. Does end up doing Volibear things. The Ohm Wrecker buff on the tower means he's not gonna take too much damage, and that is an early kill as well onto Cello, who already has a static shift.
I forget that they changed the name of the status effect on the tower to Ohm Wrecker because, my god, that item does not need to come back. Just a small aside, turning off towers, hold that. Volibear poking. Smite available, but not sticking around to expend it. Ohm Wrecker can stay dead.
Say what you will, but I think it was one of the more unique items in the game. Maybe
No.
maybe not unique in a good way, but I know Yorick was one of the champions who most enjoyed that item, just be able to go under towers. It was definitely very strong on a few champions and not very strong on a lot of champions. It was one of those things where if you can use it, you can use it very, very well, but it was very niche.
I mean, you say that like I didn't have an Ashe build at one time because they were winning so hard they wanted a tower dive. So I don't know. It was a bit silly. However, refocusing back on this one, my ancient history aside, 2-4, gold split down the middle. However,
And Rod of Age is already picked up by Kraken here. You can see the lead in the mid lane is about 3k Femal now.
not able to land a counter-strike Q from Melia. Will kicking back this Volibear, forcing him out of jungle, but the 3v3 soon to become 4s. Top laners Ruben under fire, flashing forwards. Under the structure he goes, shutting down the Nard. Meanwhile, kicking it off, flashing away from Just Ryan's counter-strike. Volibear is looking to turn this around. Silil on the bottom of your screen. Alias trading auto for auto. Volibear launching forwards. The mid laner onto the back line. Jinx must flee. She will get knocked away, and without the DPS, the mop-up begins. DVN pick up 3 across Summoner's Rift, trading only their 0-4 Pirate.
Evelian there getting a huge win, and Just Ryan did not get the ultimate, and you could see at the start of that fight, it just doesn't end up proccing because of the way the new Jack's ultimate works, but Dragon is now gonna be finished up here, and this is a huge win for the side of Devilian. But you can see when this fight starts, it is a great blast cone over the wall to start off with. Of course, we have a solo kill in the top lane for both sides, but you can see this is where Just Ryan just ends up going for Dax. The ultimate goes on to no one, which means the resistances that you get from it just don't exist. Cello with a great job to try to chunk down Alias there, and it is complete cleanup out of Xeris. You can see the Spirit Rush so useful there, as well as the double Q onto Just Ryan. Just Ryan ends up falling at this point. It is every man for themselves, running for the hills, as it is a shutdown onto Just Ryan as we pick it back into life.
Coming out of replay to a dead Volibear is not what you want to see, just as it felt like they were continuing to move forwards up in the top lane. Squibwell winning the barrel mini game, just beating them to death with the base stats. Meganar eating the boulder. Meanwhile, mid laner caught once more. I feel like that's twice now where the camera just slow pans over to the Ahri in an unfortunate predicament.
Yeah, this mid lane so far does not seem to be going the way of the villain, but this top lane isn't really either. 1-5 on Ruben Rotman seems to be struggling a little bit in that 1v1, but you can see now as well, Kraken has been able to get 2 of his stacks onto that Rod of Ages. Deref God is getting stacked up quite quickly here as well. So once that Archangels comes in and he gets a couple more items under his belt, this Anivia, which is already strong, is just gonna keep on scaling to that late game.
I mean, be that as it may, Squirwheel did opt into a 1-for-1 trade with a pirate who is worth about as much as a super minion. Once again, hold that thought. Bot lane's going to be fighting. A Seabreeze under fire, trying to body block the shots. Alias should have enough HP, just standing still and pressing the shield. Looking for the weave on 4th shot. Little too cheeky for his own good, not connecting that one.
Yeah, Alios just kind of presses the S key there and hopes that the weave doesn't go around. But you can see the bot lane tower should fall for the side of Ragnarok, so it will be first tower gold over to the villain. And Famal just around to make sure that nothing goes wrong here, making sure that they secure the tower as well. He's gonna get a frog for his troubles, but so far the bot lane focus, as soon as Famal started focusing a little bit more on the bot side of the map, the game has sort of shifted this early game in the favor of the villain, and they have a slight gold lead for their troubles as well.
Absolutely. You got to just cut your losses, top. This pirate is a sinking ship with the, no pun intended. We're just going to gloss over this. 1-6 he goes, as Davy Jones' locker is getting pretty stuffed.
There is in the mid lane though.
Stun connecting, Counter-Strike will as well, a pair of CCs, but the ult away to safety, looking to re-engage, has that ultimate available, and here comes the Volibear Charm on to Just Ryan, forces him backwards. Here comes Not Hook, they have the pass-through with Orba Deception. Zyrus picking up Just Ryan, and this Jack's falling for a second time.
And Zera seems to be hitting everything this game. The charm, granted, earlier on went a little bit too short, but has seemed to pick up on that and now has 2 kills to his name. Malignus completed as well, but like you said, this bot lane, Squeeble, has now gotten the tower as well, which means this Gnar that is fed in the top lane is now gonna transfer his lead to across the map to other sides. But the main thing is for the villain, if you can keep this Gnar in the bot lane, if you can keep him from facing Ruben and let Ruben just slowly scale up, while not having a good early game, with enough gold in the pocket of the Gangplank, he's still gonna scale and still gonna be that late game monster.
There is a 70 CS lead between Jin and GP. In terms of split map states, this is about as bad as it gets. Meanwhile, Silo, under fire from Herald, will live through the charge. He's got 100 HP to work with. Tower not so fortunate. Opening up the curtain call for aesthetics, as that is not going to be the most impactful ult of all time.
3 health bars or 3 full health bars on the other side means there's really not gonna be much to that. Bot lane tower now is gonna be picked up, and that's just more gold into the pocket of the Nara. Like you said, the sides here have very much been traded. This might be the most heavy side trade I think I've ever seen with the CS difference, and you can see Sal as well slowly but surely working towards his sort of second item. But the issue is now that the side of the villain need to sort of win this early game. They need to sort of, like you said, accelerate the game. And now that all the hour towers for the most part have fallen, it's gonna become a lot harder to do that. And your only really way to do that is through these dragons.
Yeah, they got to start stacking dragons, and they also need to start doing exactly what's on your screen, and that is deny camps, deny farm, deny, because the more piles up and the later and later we go into this, the happier Ragnarok is. So if you can remove whatever resources that they will be farming up, that will be lovely. Here is Kraken just going to clear this wave out with the ultimate. Volibear looking to stop that. Queuing forwards,
Oh.
great wall blocking the dredge line, but is it enough? The charm will land on top of the knockups. They turn the tower off for extra, and Anivia is cooked.
And again, just a great play out of Hamal there, really just using his ultimate to an advantage. Kraken with an amazing wall to block out on the hook there, but unfortunately is not gonna end up being enough, as the Volibear just too strong for him to deal with. But you can see some bot lane and mid lane pressure coming out, but Dax now on the flank.
Yeah, they were able to get back in time, though. You saw Silo going the safe way around, not trying to squeeze through the tiny pocket of vision, just going safe, giving up some tower damage, but there weren't really waves to support it, and so it ends up being net positive for the Devilian.
Kraken with a TP onto the top lane to try to keep this tower alive, to try to keep more gold out of the pocket of the Devilian, but the bot lane tower for them, or the bot lane tower for them, is not going to be the most healthiest thing in the world either. Should be picked up by Squeeble, I feel like. If they're not in this wave, maybe in the next wave. As you can see, Just Ryan is around as well.
Spotted on the sweeper, Just Ryan connecting Counter-Strike. Blast Cone is body blocked, but not can walk out under his own power.
Dax ends up living there. You can see the red now might potentially be stolen away here by Just Ryan, but Dax is gonna be around Smite in Just Ryan's pocket, should be able to secure that very easily for himself. Dragon gonna be about 3 minutes away, which means all this sort of bot lane pressure mainly gonna be to get that bot lane tier 1,
Nivy
but
in
Kraken
trouble.
now.
TP to try and reinforce, but not in time. Zyrus simply escaping with the kill. Squibbles TP canceled in kind, and Devillion picking up a pair. Wallop backwards on the Femel, looking for the counter strike. Two are lined up. You're gonna go onto the Volibear, who's forced to ult early. DPS reigns in as now the marksman on the top of your screen. Squidwheel hopping away from the dredge line. Nautilus does not have that hook, and with lethal tempo proc, they put a beating on the knot. Cut off from the team. Jin forced to flash away. Two men fall, and the fight in the river goes the red team's way.
And it's gonna be a Jhin without a flash as well, one of the most immobile AD carries in the game. But you can see just the side of Ragnarok very much so, willing to take that trade. Just Ryan, a very tanky man on the Jax, especially once he pops that ultimate, got it onto 2, just giving him so many more of those resistances, and they're gonna be so strong in this 5v5, not gonna be able to pick up the Baron off of those picks just because it is on the wrong side of the map. Their death timer is not quite long enough yet for them to just run across the map and pick that one up, but Cello needs to be careful.
Cello does have an incredible amount of move speed to work with. Even without the Flash Ghost, yes, he is immobile, but if he gets one of those crits off, particularly that guaranteed fourth, sometimes the movement speed's all you need to outpace something like a Counter-Strike.
And the Infinity Edge in his inventory definitely gonna help to get those crits as well to give him more of that speed. But with the only objective on the top side of the map, you can see both of these teams now trying to focus their attention onto the top side, right? It's a vision game. How much of vision can you deny your opponent and potentially get them to walk into an ambush, and how much of your own vision can you put down and how much of it can you protect?
Jackson currently looking for one of those ambushes, charging up that Hex Flash, but will allow Jinx to farm up the wave. No harm, no foul. Still creeping their way in terms of this gold lead. Devillion did push the pace as we asked, but yet more to go.
Yeah, and still Ruben only on one item. You can see slowly trying to farm up here. The CS lead between him and Squeeble, not as big as you'd think, considering he's 1-on-6, but Xeris needs to be careful in the mid lane, Stellar as well.
Cello is under fire. He does not have the luxury of dashes, and he is down. Reset to Jinx. She gets excited. Squirrel is about to flip over to Mega. Charm for the slow. Will continue to exit swiftly, will this mid laner. But 80 carry down.
AD carry down, and it'll be interesting to see if the side of Ragnarok try to opt in for the Baron here, because Ruben is down towards that bot lane, but he does have that cannon barrage, which makes it so hard to start this Baron buff on up, just because it is such a big AoE tool. Dragon gonna spawn in 30 seconds, so it does look like the side of Ragnarok opting to get vision on the bot side instead, just because of the AD carry, like you said, on side of the Devillion being down, means they can't really afford to walk into these bushes.
Nope, can't control it quite yet here. It is up to Volibear to try and escort these creeps into tower, but inside track available for Devillion. They'll pick it up now for the re-engage. Ragnarok marching forwards, flash is used, and hooked out of the air is just Ryan. The jungle is down. Volibear is forced to flash away. Reinforcements arrive out of the mid lane. Charm goes wide, moving forwards onto the back line, but sniped out by the R. One more reset for the mid. Ruben in the middle of three people is cut to pieces. Double kill to mid. Volibear in retreat. Silo will continue to flee. Stunned up with the flash forwards, and Nivea locks him down. Jinx, the benefactor of one. Gnar picks up the other. He gets picked off by the Volibear at the very end, but 4 men fall for Devillion, only 3 on the other side.
And a great hook out of Dax is just not enough to keep the rest of his team alive. This should lead into a dragon for the side of Ragnarok, but Zaire is gonna be around. The Spirit Rush not quite available, but Kraken is losing a lot of HP off of this. This could be a potential turnaround.
And trying to burst, but no vision to check it means that they're able to grab this up, no issues. Waiting for a charm, maybe lurking here. R is about to come up, and Malignance will be enough to finish, but instead Blast going away, and Jinx will escape.
And that teamfight is exactly what we talked about in these late game stages, because the Anivia is gonna be so strong. Rod of Ages, now 10 stacks on that Liandry's, finished up as well, and the zone control out of Ragnarok. When you put together a Jinx, you put together an Anivia. Just Ryan unfortunately does end up falling quite early on into the fight, so they don't have the tanky front line in the Jax, but they've got Squeeble in the top lane, who is quite tanky on his own as well. And the Jinx and the Anivia just doing so much damage in these fights now. You can see a lot of CS as well onto Pocket of Xayres. Xayres did a great job as Celos. He's caught.
Beautiful wall, once again manipulating that movement from the marksman. Here comes Just Ryan, slowed by the trap, flashing away his Nautilus. He's gonna have Leap Strike up in just a moment. Spider-Man away with the Dredge line. They once again isolate the immobile marksman, and he's sent packing for 27.
There's no cannon barrage, keep in mind, on Ruben was used just moments ago, so they're gonna start up this Baron now, but a lot of members on the other side still alive. Ragnarok could potentially, or the side of DVN could try stop this.
The four-way flank, AKHP, the solos regroup. Volibear's going to be trying to brave the storm. Anivia boxing out with the chompers as best she can. 2K, the barrels fly, and the blue team picks it up. The Volibear stealing that one away. Retreat is sounded, but they got what they came for. Two more will fall. Nautilus is running for his life, but he will eventually be run down as he's headed the wrong way. The steal is what matters, though.
That's such a beautiful smite out of Famo right there. He does end up paying for it with his life, but I'm sure
That's
this
Ryan, they're looking under the structures. Grubs to tank up some, but the GP finally online with the two items, executing out this Jax.
A little bit of a confusing move out of Just Ryan, I want to say. That is borderline in my opinion, but he is gonna end up falling for it. And looking back at this Baron fight, you can see Kraken uses his wall very early on as well, so no real way to stop Famo from entering. The Chompers are good to try to stop him from coming in, but unstoppable with that Volibear ultimate, ends up smiting away that Baron. At this point, like you said, Sandbag, it is the retreat call. Just keep as many members alive as you can, and it is Ruben who's gonna hold on to the Baron buff for the side of Devilian. But this is sort of exactly what they needed, because the side of Ragnarok, yes, they lost the Baron, but while they do have this late game scaling, they really don't mind drawing this game out. So I feel like overall, it is a good win out of the Villian, but the question is now, how do they use this Baron buff against a great wave clear on the other side?
Absolutely. This is a critical juncture, right? If that Baron goes the way of Ragnarok, then they can just chill. They can just hit creeps, hit camps, and gather their forces for later on. Now they're the ones slightly on the back foot. I think there was only two, Jin and Top, to my knowledge, do have this Baron buff, so it will be a little tougher to apply, but it's a matter of really moving it forward.
Yeah, and it does actually look like Cello not alive in time to pick that one up. So it is only the one member, Ruben, who's gonna be the one to have that, and that is, I feel like, a big issue for the side of Devilian, because you want Ruben in a side wave. You want him to match up against Squeeble, but that does mean they're gonna lack the Baron buff in that push, and Squeeble has so far been doing a great job of keeping this GP in a side lane as Just Ryan is looking.
Just Ryan is looking on the Volibear, slowed out by that Boomerang. They're going to continue to give chase, forcing the flash and keep going with Hyper. The move speed stacks as Squeewill. One more auto for the third proc, forcing the Volibear flash. Hop continuing to bridge the distance, but Volibear's got the move speed out. Two flashes for one. The jungler of Devilian will make it out.
It is top jungle flash for jungle, but now Squeeble looking in the mid lane again.
Charm lands on the Mega Gnar. Just Ryan is going to try and loop around. Ari severed from her squad. She's trying to get back over this wall. It's Just Ryan hurting the Fox. Moving forwards, Charm lands. The movement speed slow enough. And once again, Devilian members bail out and this time TP to force the Anivia.
There's two TPs both here from the mid laners, but the fighting I don't think is quite over. Just Ryan again walking in.
However, use the Leap Strike. He lurches into Fog of War as now he's going to try and stall this one out. Regrouping with the team, mid laner marching forwards. The GP ultimate for the slows over the top. Dredge line goes just a hair wide. Alias in retreat. Ruben burned to a crisp by the snowstorm. Kraken going on a rampage, channeling up that fourth shot, but forced to call it off early. It is 4 versus 4, top for support down.
Well, still in danger, he's gonna make a run for the hills, but look on the resources, because no ultimates up for the side of Devilian. But Kraken, he
And
still
though,
sees.
flashing forwards onto Jinx, fourth shot, movement speed, there it is! Shutting down the opposite number, kiting away from Squeewheel, but no Mega, remember, he's only just got that mini form. Narbar building, Dredgeline not connecting once more. Kraken's gonna be leading the charge on in. Here comes the gank, and they will go egg form. Just Ryan's the last little bit of damage available, but Jin in beautiful position. Nar sidestepping the wall, double kill over the Jax. He's gonna be dropped alongside the rest of the team. Ace comes through, Ragnarok on top.
Beautiful team fight out of Ragnarok there. As soon as Kraken falls into mini egg, you can see the assignment. Keep this Anivia alive, and it all starts as well with Squeeble just being able to walk up here. Scylla with a great catch onto Alias, but now he's got no summoners, he's got no ghost, no flash. Xeris tries to go in early, and this is a great pickup, but the egg comes in so clutch here for Kraken. The redemption as well to give him so much more survivability. Squeeble with a great jump onto Cyril, recognizing the target they need to kill, but the Nexus is on fire.
Base, meanwhile, as we're giving the analysis, we're losing Nexus turrets. It is Drake secured. It is Nexus turret secured. The Rocket's gonna fly in and eat up this Ares HP bar. The wall, just a little bit insult to injury, but this is Ragnarok's Rift at this point.
Squeeble as well, I want to point out, has gone for a more aggressive build here because he knows the Milio by his back. He doesn't need to go full tank. Kraken with a little bit delayed of a recall. Xavier is gonna try to use the Spirit Rush to catch him out, but he will make it out just in time. I would say it is a big cooldown, but Seabreeze might get caught.
Seabreeze in a lot of trouble here from Mal. The Volibear in melee range on a Jinx, but he just doesn't have the juice so far. Ultimate committed, stunned, and feasted on the empowered autos from the Volibear. Gap closed secured, and bot lane pulled apart.
Really now looking towards that Baron buff. You can see they are 5-man strong, 3-man strong on the other side. Jungle gonna be up, so just might try to go for the smite here.
Yep, 8k HP, just Ryan lurking in the back of the pit, and he has a ward to leap strike to. 5k it burns. Kraken's gonna provide as much damage as he can. Down to 3k it falls, just Ryan looking for his moment, and the Volibear comes out on top again. Famil is clutch on these. Xyrus under fire. The Nar's gonna be able to finish the job here. Anivia segmented out, 2-man wall up into the wall. He goes with the Nar. It's a double kill for Squeewheel. Kraken's picking up the third for the squad as the Anivia lurches forwards. Famil and Silil backing their way away. They once again come up with the Drake, and this time 2 Baron buffs to their name.
Amal, the king of smites this game, just tries to do what Famal did to him earlier on, but Famal just says, no, this one's mine, little friend, and he just ends up getting the smite in. They clean house here on the side of Ragnarok, though, because yeah, Divillian get the Baron, but they lose a lot of members. A great wall out of Squeeble there on the wall, catches out too. It is Celil and Famal who end up keeping that Baron buff in the end, but you can hear a fight. Oh, okay. GG's.
T-Tours? Okay.
GG's.
Okay. Well, 1-0 goes Ragnarok as we end the game.
Yeah, it kind of just, well, we don't know what happened, clearly there, but it does seem like Ragnarok took the Baron that Devilian got and said, you can keep the Baron, but we're gonna take your base, we're gonna blow up your Nexus, and that is a trade I'm willing to take any day of the week.
So, in the pregame, I was saying how if this game's still going by 30 minutes, I think it just ends for Ragnarok. I think we made it to 34, and then literally off screen, the game just kind of ended in somewhat anticlimactic style.
Yeah, I can say it ended 33 minutes on the dot. So you are
Okay.
unfortunately 3 minutes late, so not a bad prediction there at all. And again, just really impressive in my opinion, outside of Ragnarok, because it felt like they took that early game really chill, outside of just trying to put Ruben as behind as possible and trying to get Squeeble to take over that matchup. But on the bot lane, you can just see there wasn't much focus there because both Alias and Seabreeze knew what they had to do, right? Just sit there, take waves, scale up into the late game. Exactly what they did. But this Anivia, I think, was really impressive for me.
I would agree. They understood what the game plan was. They played towards it. It doesn't matter if Barons aren't going their way. It doesn't matter if there are moments and glimpses. They never really felt like they were in super hot water, and then they just close out.
Yeah, I felt like the first sort of like a couple minutes into the game, Devilian, yeah, while there were basically a full clear out of Hummel, I feel like there wasn't really enough interaction in the early game because we said in draft, right? Ragnarok, their main objective this game is to just chill, which means it is up to the villain to accelerate the game. It is up to Famel on the volley bear, who's got great tools to gank in the early game. If no CC from his laners, he's got CC of his own. And I feel like just didn't really use that, didn't understand the assignment to get his team ahead in the early game. And the game goes past 30 minutes and Ragnarok just blocked the Nexus.
Yep, there was a couple moments, but it felt like egg was up every time. And if the only time that you're killing a Nivea is egg timers, which is what, 5-minute timers or something in that
Yeah.
vein, that is not near rapid enough. So yeah, there we go. 1-0. Ragnarok are gonna look to close this one out.
Yeah, Ragnarok, in my opinion, looked pretty strong. As well, Ragnarok as a team is if we look at the players on their side, right? We look at Seabreeze, we look at Kraken, Just Try and Squibble. These are players that, in my opinion, shine when they're in a 5v5 setting. Their team fight is, I think, to me, a lot better than sort of some of the mid-tier teams, which is what they've landed themselves in as well, right? Ending the regular season 9-7, so you could call them a mid-tier team. But I think to me, what separates them from the rest is their ability to team fight. It is that 5v5 where they shine, and that is what they sort of draft towards, right? You could see their main draft one plus draft plan was to get to that 5v5, to get to that late game, the Jinx, the Anivia, these champions that won a team fight. And that's exactly what they drafted for and just sort of executed it near perfectly, I want to say.
Absolutely. They knew what they had to do. They did it, and they find themselves 1-0 up. So no worries at all. This time, from the Devilian perspective, do you reckon we're fighting fire with fire and going full late game? Do you think that maybe draft was okay? It just needs to execute differently? Because I felt like they were, with all due respect, not even close when it came to ending the game before the scaling came online. So I would almost try and match some of the scaling where you just kind of run out of road otherwise.
Yeah, I think there is sort of a couple of avenues you can take this because, yeah, you can go with the scaling route, but one of the issues that sort of comes up when you've tried to fight fire with fire is Ragnarok are so good at stalling out the game, so good in the 5v5. It's something they practice, something they do in scrims, right? The comps
Mm.
like these is exactly what they try to run. So if you sort of try to switch up your playstyle, if you try to just match what the opponents are doing, are they just gonna take your strategy, what you're trying to do, and be better at it and beat you that way? Because I think for me, the villain need to just sort of do what they've been doing. They need to try to accelerate the early game to the point where Ragnarok never gets to the 30 minutes.
Just
Accelerate
gonna
the
be
game, not the way to go.
if you're just going to be an inferior version of enemy team, that's obviously not the way to go. But I don't know, just from that game and the very limited perspective I have, is I haven't been able to see much of Devilian. It does feel scary to say we'll just go even earlier. You know, we're Lucian Nami. We'll blast them, guys, and then the game stall. You lose one Baron, the game just kind of falls apart.
Yeah, that's sort of what it felt like as well. And with that being said, since these are replays, we don't sort of need to wait the players and ourselves to get ready. So, do we have a draft of game 2 ready? Are we ready to go with that already? Okay, we are. So it should be very soon. So we are getting it ready as we speak. But I think this is one of those games as well that just shows the strength of Ragnarok, like the 5v5. And when you look at the other side, I think the Villain to me got sort of, I want to say, one of the harder teams. Because when you look at the schedules, you sort of look at the upper bracket teams, right? You see some very even matchups there. But I think this is one of those ones that to me don't seem that even I think this is Ragnarok favored, but something we haven't covered yet, Sandbag, MVPs. Who do you think is your MVP of game one?
Oh, it's Anivia. I think head and shoulders over. In terms of individual standouts, I would have to give it to the Anivia. In terms of showing both mastery of the champion with those walls just being so annoying, blocking dredge lines or manipulating pathing and forcing Jin to walk into queues or controlling space appropriately, as well as what they provided for the team, I absolutely got to give it mid.
I think that's definitely fair enough. The positioning, I feel like, as well, in some of those late game fights was there. Because the thing is with Anivia players as well, generally most of them play a little bit more passive, even when they have that egg up. But you can see Kraken, when he had the egg, went very aggressive in and trusted his team to keep themselves alive while he had to be resurrected. But with that being said, we'll be able to see if the Anivia enters into game 2 ready to go into draft. But so far, I'm looking at draft, I'm seeing no Anivia as it was banned away by the Villian.
Yeah, Devillian kind of agreeing with the assessment of, well, that was annoying. This was controlling space. This was piloted well by the player. Get that out of here. However, Jinx Melio, Jax, still mega late game insurance here for Ragnarok. Just definitely not to the same extent as Aphelios and Victor. Way better equipped to keep pace.
You can see a little bit of a different setup here from the Villian because we talked about it, right? Do you want to go super early game? Do you want to try to beat them out before they get to 30 minutes? Or do you want to match the scaling, potentially beat them at their own game? It does look like option 2 is what they went with. Both Aphelios and Victor great into scaling towards that late game, but Aphelios one of those champions where you need to get the right guns, you need to know how to play the champion as well. One of the more unique AD carries that we have in the game with sort of those guns that you have being able to know the rotation. So it'll be interesting to see if the Villian, if they are equipped to sort of deal with the skill as well as the Victor, another champion that requires a little bit more skill, I want to say. So definitely going to be interesting to see if they've got that in their pockets.
I like this look far better in terms of you're not so hard gated by the fact that it's either win hard or lose. Yes, you still have tools, right? You still have the Renekton and the Volibear. Even Thresh can exert some early pressure if you're looking to fight around Grubs or a couple early Drakes. But you don't just lose to the time. You just don't just lose once you hit, midnight on the clock strikes and you turn back into a pumpkin. Devillian have early tools, but aren't completely out of it later on.
Look, the clock not gonna be the enemy this time for the Villain. A little bit more avenues to play the game, but it's the Volibear again for them, and I don't feel like it looked that strong in that first game outside of maybe the bot lane dive that they did. That was pretty good out of them, but overall, I wasn't personally a big fan of the Volibears. I think it is interesting to see them bring it out again. But do you I want to hear your take on this. Do you agree with me on the Volibear, or do you think it was more impactful than perhaps I saw?
I think it was set up for failure is the issue, where you're forced into these 60-40 plays, 70-30 plays where you have to take what you can get. And so there were moments where it was like, it's a toss-up whether or not you should go for it, and then your reasoning becomes, well, I gotta or we lose. So I actually don't mind the Volibear selection itself now that it has a bit of a fallback pattern. It can bully out early, the tower dives especially facilitated. Point and click CC is always lovely, and now there are 2 forms of that to try and assist in these thresh hooks and things like that. So I don't mind the Volibear insofar as it's a decent meatball. I would still take the Jack side of it, all of that said.
I mean, that's definitely fair enough, and Just Ryan did look pretty strong on that Jax in that game one as well. 647 is what he ended on, so definitely it is good to see that that Ragnarok have sort of gone with, if we won in game 1 and don't go too wrong, why not just do it again? And why not just bring the same thing into game 2 as we are having some
nocturnal
technical
since-
difficulties? There it is.
Paranoia. There we go. Okay. Spectator just giving us a little bit of a spook, making sure everyone's awake. 5-man invade, however. Ilias does not want anything to do with that. Sees 5, pings it out, and heads back into the structure.
Alias just looked at them in the eyes and said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good, no thank you. As Famal is gonna little bit of a disconnect there, but should be back momentarily. Keep in mind these are replays as well. So if there are any pauses, I don't think they go through. I'm not exactly sure, but Kraken already under threat in the mid lane, as you can see, just 4-man strong stepping up into the enemy jungle.
Walking forwards, this time Death Sentence not in range. Emilio's able to space that one appropriately. Both bot laners just giving the respect where it's due, and once again, top vision traded for bot vision on either side of the map.
Yeah, but look at the top lane now. Ruben might just walk into this. He isn't gonna check the enemy red buff. Not sure whether that is a lack of awareness or he just doesn't want to face check that bush. I wanna give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he knows something is up just with that invade, so he doesn't even want to walk in there. But Just Ryan is gonna be able to start on the enemy red buff, so it is gonna be at least one camp you're taking for Just Ryan. Might go for these Raptors as well. So an early CS lead for the jungler of Ragnarok.
The issue is, if you're this Renekton, right, there are two ways that it plays out if you go up and check that bush. A, no one is there and it was a waste of time. Or B, someone is there and it is definitely a waste of time. So there aren't good options. I definitely think it's the right call to just not check, right? There's no good ending for this crocodile.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it is just one of those things where you are better not to do it than you are to do it. But Just Ryan gonna be working his way towards the bot side of the map here. And this bot lane, I feel like if you can punish it for the side of Villian, if you can, or for the side of Ragnarok, if you can punish the enemy bot lane and sort of stop this Aphelios for scaling for at least a little bit, it is gonna be a good look for you. But Famal actually gonna walk into the enemy Raptors here, so gonna try to take some camps away of his own.
A little bit of lopsided pathing. This is 3 camps into mid gank for the Volibear. Looking for a flash, but this is a Syndra with 3 spells. It just moving back into the Raptor camp.
3 spells plus a scatter means it is not going to be an easy gank to pull off, but if Famal try to go for more here, Just Ryan will be running into him, as so far the pathing is going to tell us the red buff is gonna try and be taken, but look at Just Ryan, just finishing up his wolves now, starting to walk into his own jungle, so potential jungle interaction is Seabreeze very low.
Seabreeze burning, but pot ticking will keep him on his feet. Alias and Celil 2v1. Jinx is going to try and find the final auto, and she does do it with the help of the Melio shield. Thresh is going to trade this out with the auto attacks. Double kill goes Jinx. Thresh does get it with his dying breath, as Just Ryan pushes out the Volibear. It is buffs acquired for both sides. The burglary successful. 20 to 25 camps apiece. Crab. Just Ryan and Famel smite fight going over, as now his Volibear Counter-Strike has been used. E will go. Auto attack for auto. Tempo versus PTA. Jax leap strikes forwards, flashing for the W, looking for KP's the support. But Seabreeze doesn't even need it.
Just Ryan with just the confidence right there at the lethal tempo versus press of the attack. We can clearly see which one is the better rune in the precision tree. And we talked about this, right? Jack's so strong in the 1v1 that Famal really no avenues of going in. But I want to talk more about this bot lane 2v2. Because you're looking at a Jinx, look at Amelia. We talked about the scaling, we saw it in game 1. And we saw how strong it was. This is a bot lane that's killing the enemy bot lane 2v2 4 minutes into the game. It is so far not a good look coming out from the Devilian bot lane.
No, and even worse, to add just a little bit of salt to the wound, Thresh got last hit. This isn't even a 2-for-1 in the regard of 2 goes to 1 and 1 goes to the other. It's 2 on a Jinx, and the other one is assist money.
Yeah, it is not a lot of gold into the pocket of Celil, so a great start for the side of Ragnarok. But Grub's gonna be contested. Just Ryan is walking in as well.
Smiting 1, level 5 versus level 5 on the 2 tops. Ruben is now going to be 4-stacked and forced out the back of the pit. Noxian might inbound, Counter-Strike onto the bear. He's got no way out. It's Just Ryan picks up another. The bleed will stack on mid. Ruben continuing to wait for Slice cooldown to not flash out of pit. Means he's down to 200 HP, and the river belongs to Ragnarok.
Yeah, it does, but Zera's walking in now, and there's another 2v2 in the bot lane.
once again, off-screen fighting has begun. Nice sidestep out of Seabreeze. Evading that death sentence will mean he walks out. Jinx, however, not so fortunate, and Salil picking up some revenge.
And the big and shutdown there goes to Salil as well. So this time it is big that he is the one that gets the kill. And this bot lane, even though we talked about it, right? Aphelios, Jinx, both great at scaling, they still want to brawl it out in the early game, still willing to battle. While grabs, you can see 2 to the way of Ragnarok, 1 to the way of DVN. So overall, a win for the side of Ragnarok, but it is going to be answered to by a dragon on the other side of the map. So the dragon scaling that we talked about so much, which is so important heading to the late game, currently favoring the Villian.
And in terms of neutrals, if I get 1 grub, 1 Drake in return for 2 grubs, I'm happy. This is a net positive trade, even though in isolation, jungle is starting to get more and more lopsided over time, and Just Ryan understanding that, once again hunting a red.
Yeah, he understands the split map, right? He gets where he started and just knows that this is gonna be up and available for the picking. Famal actually gonna get spotted on a ward here as well as Zera's gonna find a solo kill.
Production, we just gonna keep our eyes mid every so often, as these two are picking each other off at moments where I wouldn't expect. And yet, here we are, once more. Solo kill mid, Zyrus picking that up on the Kraken.
Does seem like there are kills or solo kills, should I say, going all over the place. Had one in the top lane in that game, one now mid lane. Zera's gonna be with low resources here, so just looking to return back to base. Just try and keep in mind managing to get away with the steal of the red buff, so you can see a little bit of a CS difference in the jungle going his way at the moment. And the enemy red buff, or the allied red buff for him, not going to be up for grabbing quite yet, but you can see Berserker Greaves out of both of these AD carries, and it is a good pickup from Alias because that death sentence a lot easier to dodge once you've got some movement speed under your belt.
Some movement speed alongside a Cole, as they say, okay, we've had our fighting early, we're going to try and settle down as best we can. Level 6 available, backwards zap for a bit of an awkward moment, but this time jungles are here to match. Counter-strike onto the Thresh, who is going to be locked down, trying to taxi out, but the Q killing the creep means he can't Nautilus his way on out of there. It is going to be counter gank secured. Jax just has this number.
Just Ryan has so far had a great 2 games for himself. I feel like everywhere where Famal tries to make a play, there is a Jax to meet him. There's Seller with a trade though. Not quite there picked up. Alias just a little bit of dueling still in the bot lane. Sandbag, I swear both of these teams are just fighting for the sake of it.
Yeah, they're just kind of having fun testing each other. Just some PvP here, a little bit of fighting, a little bit of jostling for position. Just Ryan, in terms of combat, has been heads and shoulders above in terms of jungle. Famo has the smites on him, to his credit. He's been able to pick up 2 of those. 1 smite steal, 1 smite secure. But putting himself in a position that he requires a steal is what Just Ryan has been able to do.
Yeah, Famal does seem to be better at fighting neutral camps than Just Ryan, just with those Baron steals. And so far, Just Ryan being 2-0-1 already on the scaling Jax. We talked about it, right? They still got the scaling in their pockets. The Jinx, the Milio, the Syndra, the Jax, all these champions scale very well onto that late game. And he is going to pick up the Heartthrown Axe as well, slowly but surely working his way towards the Trinity Force. And Kraken not with great resources in this mid lane. Famal and Dax both around to try to punish this.
400 HP versus a champion who can turn his structure off. This is looking pretty dicey as they go pull the trigger, flash stun away from the laser. He makes it. Melio there with the shielding needed to survive. They cover each other, flay away, looking for another leap strike, but Blast Cone will be the exit needed. Thresh is able to just slip on out as Scribble's ghost seemingly goes to waste.
Yeah, he's just doing for a little bit of a show, making sure that everyone knows here that even though the top lane has been a little bit more quiet this game, he's still around, he's still awake, ready for battle and for fighting. So far, the Darius versus Renekton lane, a lane which I expected to be really, really bloody. Elena expected for us to find some solo kills in, much more so than the Jinx Milio versus Aphelios Thresh has so far netted no kills.
If you had told me at the start of this game there is a random 6-minute solo kill from one of these solo laners, my guess would not have been this Victor. I will say that much. So yeah, as you said, oddly quiet up on that northern front there as the top laners have just seemingly agreed to handshake out. Somehow on a pink ward, I expect Jinx to just hit this wave and dip on out with support incoming.
There's no ultimate on Famal as well, keep in mind, so Alias should be safe under his tower, no way to disable it, at least for the foreseeable future. Dragon gonna be spawning up here, this would be second dragon for the side of the Villian, and keep in mind, with that Cloud Dragon taken off the table, or the Cloud Soul, should I say, there are still great souls available, Infernal, Hextech, all of these souls very useful if you can pick them up. So these dragons is what the side of the Villian should be focusing on. As you can see, they understand the assignment, trying to encroach on the enemy jungle.
However, this time, numbers advantage goes the way of the red team. Just Ryan gets the counter-strike off finally, but he's only got 500 HP. Ignite dropped, leap striking over to his ward, but in comes the Victor, the flash forwards, and the laser to finish. Shut down. Jax is finished up in the top lane. Dominus procced. He will get the wave, he will get the health bar, but will not finish the kill. Picking up this Drake, second one. 7 HP, no problem. Volibear picks it up as he's continuing to back and forth. Queuing his way backwards is Seabreeze. Alias able to just... Okay, I was going to say get out with the E move speed, but ghosting just to be sure. And at the end of the day, Ghost not the longest cooldown.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? The advantages of taking Ghost plus Flash means that if you're at all insecure, that you can just use the Ghost plus Xerath with a TP here.
Getting behind the Syndra. She is caught and dead to rights. Not even going to auto. Good guy Volibear, making sure that the kill is secured by his mid laner. He's there for XP. He's there for moral support, but not even needed.
Famal cares so much about giving his mid laner the kill, just gonna be the cheerleader this time around, not even gonna get himself involved in that to risk him getting that one. And a great TP out of Xyris there, Kraken overstaying a little bit with no flash either in hand. No TP means there should be a plate or two picked up for Xyris here. Already 2 plates left on the side of Ragnarok, and this mid lane tower not looking healthy. And when I'm looking at a Volibear in the game, I would expect for potential mid lane dives as well, because this mid lane tower is key for them to get down.
Trying to make sure they farm as many plates as possible. 3-0 on a control mage early on into this game, plus a pair of Drakes for their late game insurance for what they're currently working towards. Promising signs out of Villian, a much stronger start than the game one.
Yeah, so far they do seem a lot better, and the scaling or matching the scaling of Ragnarok does seem to be working out for them. So just picking up what Ragnarok laid down and building on that foundation is the strategy they seem to have gone for. As just Ryan now looking for a little bit of a lane gank.
Yes, and disconnecting, flashing forwards onto the Thresh they go. Flash of his own, but he's dead all the same. Breath of Life will keep Jinx firing. Volibear's looking, but those Flame Chompers will delay. Xyris once more. Lane Kingdom. Victor picking up a couple as just Ryan is forcing the Volibear. Flash away from Jinx. Flash follow from Volley. Shut down to the bear. He's going to be gunned down by the Jax. 1-for-1 in the bot lane. Kraken falls as well. And they're looking to keep going, but just Ryan should be spaced.
Yeah, big shutdown there onto Famal as well, forcing to flash forward to pick up Alias. Alias walking a little bit too far there, as the Jinx, the flash not enough to get him away, as there is another solo kill missed in the mid lane. Xayras now gonna be very close to completing that Archangels, as the mid tier 1 almost gonna be picked up as well of Ragnarok. So far, this mid lane 2 scaling control mages seems to be where the solo kills are at.
Yeah, even though production has currently been fumbling this a little bit and has missed both of them, we can infer that this lane has been going swimmingly for the Victor. Sorry, Pepper, I love you. I promise. Please don't mute my microphone. You're the best.
We're just having a little bit of fun, you know. We're all good friends here, and I will say we might be having a little bit of fun, but Kraken is not. He's down 2 levels. He's lost his mid lane tower, and he is struggling a little bit.
Up in the top lane, Dominus has been popped, but the 5 stacks on the other side. Squirrel forcing Flash out of the Crocodile and ghosting forwards, jumping the dunk for damage. Continuing that bleed, but not quite enough in the tank. Kraken is caught, forced to flash away from the laser. Queuing forwards, waiting for one more, but not in time. Seabreeze now must deal with the onslaught of the volley. The E is walked into. Kraken caught by the lightning. Volibear sniping him out.
We've picked all of them up, ladies and gentlemen. We've got him. And Kraken ends up falling once more. 0-4 now. He's gonna be what he's at. And with this dragon spawning up pretty soon, that is a costly death, I want to say, because this should give sort of vision and river control over to the side of the villain. This is a team that already picked up the first 2 drakes in the game, looking at a potential Ocean Soul in their pockets as well very soon. So this is gonna be an important one for the side of Ragnarok to contest, as they understand that as well with the TP coming on through. But Vision is gonna spot them out, so Zelil, he knows exactly what's up.
Just Ryan a long way from the rest of his team and keeps going forwards, using the Q aggressively. Counter-Strike has been tipping a little bit of the health bar from mid. I'm looking for these marksmen to really take over. One reset out of Jinx or a big Aphelios ult can be the difference maker from 2 very narrow leads. Squirrel forced to flash away. Scat of the week connecting so far. Right hand side of your screen. Just Ryan makes it onto the back line. A Death of Life for the sustain. Darius picks up first kill, and the fight's going to kick off with Jinx getting excited. Attack speed and move speed at her disposal. Zap goes wide. Scat of the week does not. Alias picks up a second thanks to the mid stun. Kraken with a beautiful teamfight turn makes it a 2-0.
It is again Ragnarok beating out the side of the villain in that 5v5. Xayras now trying to look for a potential one-shot onto Kraken if he does walk up a little bit too far.
Laser Q auto, the beautiful combo and gravity well for the lockdown. Thresh picks it up with the KS standing for kills secure. 3-3-3 for the Chain Ward.
Yeah, Dax being not as good of a guy as Famalis is gonna take that one into his own pockets. But looking back at this earlier teamfight, Just Ryan, a beautiful job from him to keep Zelil out to make sure there's no DPS out of the Aphelios. Squeeble just ends up picking up a kill, granted not a reset, not a dunk on the Darius, but it is a reset onto the Jinx. Alias just firing down from that backline. Ruben does not being able to sustain that damage. As Dax, we get back into live and these 2 teams just don't stop fighting.
Just Ryan will be maintaining his stance with the assistance of this. Melio is doing a lot quietly to keep members alive. Melio heals and shields, however, caught out by a hook flayed in so far, trying to bait for his Darius. The E is going to be flashed. Thresh will make his escape, but pay the price of a sum.
Yeah, and like you said, Seabreeze, I feel like Milio, obviously, not one of the most flashier champions. When you think about Thresh, a lot more flashy with the hooks and the lanterns, but he himself has been doing a great job. 0-0-7 so far. Keep in mind, no deaths on him quite yet, so he's been doing a great job of keeping not only his team alive, but himself alive as well in this game. Should be a Rift Herald here picked up by Just Ryan. It'll be interesting to see where that one ends up drifting off to, but the scaling that we talk about, the Victor and the Aphelios, so far this Victor, 2 items, is doing fantastic and very much ready and reared as this late game is gonna hit.
As I said already, the setup from this game so much more solid than the previous, as we have an immediate drop of the Rift Herald. Shelly's gonna be summoned, her resources spent top lane. T2 gonna take a crash down here to half.
Rift onto the top lane, but Ruben looking.
Ruben dashing forwards, in comes Jinx down for the reinforcements, ult onto 2. Chipping away on the health bar, but the flay for disengage. Meanwhile, on the bottom of your screen, Kraken is dove. It is currently T2 for T3. Ryan holding the front line. Up to Ruben to try and stall as best he can. He stuns one under the structure. The dunk comes through. Jinx is able to pick that one up. Guess he gets excited. Aphelios trading it out in kind, though. The last rocket crits! Jinx picking that up with the last auto. 3 for 2 goes the way of Ragnarok. It will be the tower finished off, but Jinx Melio will do the same shortly.
The crit comes through still with a lot of HP still left. Quite a big chunk out of Alias there, but Ruben just tries to keep the tower alive. They do end up picking up one Kraken with another death onto his toll. Not as important, but Ruben does a great job here of just walking up, gets a lot of health back from that Call of the Meek with all the minions there as well. Ends up falling, but look at this chunk onto Cell. He is still quite healthy here, and the crit just
300.
absolutely demolishes him. Sandbag, that is a lot of damage.
That was roughly 310 damage off of a singular auto, and was enough to finish that one out. Very lopsided map. That was a full T3 taken for Ragnarok up on the top side, traded for T2 bot side for DVN. Jinx got a ton of money. Very messy state. Where are we standing after all the dust settles?
I think the main thing is tier 3s don't really matter that much unless you can pick up the inhibitor as well, which was not picked up. Whereas while you're looking at Devilian, they are ahead in gold, but tier 2s give a lot more gold than tier 3s do. So overall, I don't think it's that bad of a trade out of Devilian, just because the inhib ends up staying up, which means that tier 3 falling, not gonna be that relevant. But what is gonna be relevant is the Scuttlecrab picked up, gonna give vision over that Baron Nashor, but we talked about it so much, the Dragon scaling, as Ruben might be looked on here.
Ruben will certainly be looked at, trying to dash his way, slice and dice, use both charges. Crocodile still has flash, but is a long way to run. Dominus popped early for some rage. There's the first, second over the wall. He will flash. Kolbamik will be used. He will lantern his way to safety. The exit will be made. It's now up to the marksman to do the same, but he is not so lucky. Shut down for Derry. Jinx picks up a second. DVN keep their top, but lose 2 instead.
That is not a worth it trade if you ask me. I would not trade a jungler and an AD carry for one top. What the hell?
Oh no! Yanked out a lantern, but the hook lands. It's up to this mid to try and claw something back. Flashing away from Scat of the Week. Lasers over the wall. Counter-strike popped. Going back to the Drake. No flash, no R, just some laser poke. Blue team picking up their second to equalize the Drakes. Zeus, with a noble attempt, does stall, but does not get the secure.
And a great pull out of Squeeble there, just as Xeris ends up hitting that lantern, which means he is gonna get pulled out of safety. But like you said, second dragon here for Ragnarok, going to be picked up, an ocean dragon as well. And this is big coming out from them, because one of the strengths of the Victor is that long range poke. It is raining down those lasers from miles and miles away. But if you've got an ocean drake, if you've got a couple of ocean drakes behind you to sort of heal you up after those lasers come through, it is gonna be a big help. But Baron now gonna be looked at for both of these teams, as that is the next big objective on the map.
Yeah, you got 4 minutes until the next Drake, and even then that'll only be sole points, so expect to see a ton of priority slid up towards this top side. Red word already on it, blues just kind of poking around trying to regain some vision, but I expect a lull for the next couple of moments.
Yeah, while we have that lull, I think it is gonna be important to take a look at these items, although as I say that, they might just fight just Ryan.
Baller Bear is too fast.
Yeah, he does have the cube, makes him quite a speedy boy, as well as the Deadman's, right? So a very fast man, but you can see both these teams. Sandbag, you said there might be a lull, but I feel like that might not be for too long.
Well, there should be, if we're playing proper respect, cleansing away from the counter-strike, but the rocket for the extra damage, just Ryan with the assistance is going to be continuing this fight forwards, shutting down the mid. The Victor is finished off, and just Ryan still going. Hook connecting. Ruben will get his way on out. Jinx falls to structure damage, I believe, as yet another death sentence lands, but this time Jax, no worries, just soaking these from now.
And that's where the 5 grubs really come in handy, taking out these towers that tier 2 mid lane, falling very quickly. They do end up losing the Jinx, one of their big powerhouses, 3 items already under his belt, which does mean the Baron will not be looked at just because Ali has still 17 seconds left on his response timer. But that is 700 more gold into the pocket of Ragnarok, another tier 2 picked up, and that is gonna open the top side jungle a lot, which means we might potentially see a few death pushes here from the side of Ragnarok, because when we talk about catch potential, Darius, Jack, Syndra, all these champions have a lot of CC and a lot of ways to do that.
It's also a lot of CC to people not paying respect. That was Aphelios walking up on his lonesome with no flash. He had a cleanse, but that's only gonna get you so far. It doesn't provide you any sort of escape. So sure, you're not CC'd, but you're still gonna just get beat over the head with a lamp a couple times.
Man, imagine if you had a real weapon. Just imagine.
Didn't even
Yeah.
need it. Didn't even need it.
Not this time around, no, but maybe there will be a fight where he does end up missing that. So far, it does seem like the side of the villain. I talked about it earlier. Ragnarok are so good at playing the 5v5, so good at playing as a team. The villain just not good enough to match up, I feel like. These team fights, Ragnarok has had pretty good execution on them. Whereas the other side, I wanted to seem a little bit disjointed, especially if we take a look at that bot lane fight, right? It was basically Ruben trying to make a run for the hills to live, Selil and Dax saying, guys, we can maybe turn this around, let's go. They end up getting themselves caught, and Xayris, this 5-1-3 victor in the mid lane, was kind of just neither of them, and kind of just trying to get the bot wave. So it seems just a little bit disjointed for me on the side of the villain, and if they can fix that, have a shot at winning this game, but Dax in trouble.
Dax in trouble, flashing over the wall, but he connects a beautiful hook back in. Boxes pop, just Ryan under fire. The shields are there. Dax, redemption, not in time. Ruben, meanwhile, in the backlines, trying to get onto Jinx, but she gets excited instead. 2 for 2 goes the fight. Squeewill trying to reinforce this, but not quite in time. Jungle Sup in return for top support as they go once more. Xayris, scout of the week, pulled in by the Darius. He's caught in dunk, but the shield out of Seraph's. Bleed ticking. Slight HP is required, and he maintains it. They go for the pick and are caught instead. 1 extra for Devilian.
Archangel saving lives here as Just Ryan tries to find the engage, but a beautiful flash out of Dax there into the death sentence. So much GC. Just Ryan lives for quite a while here, considering he's got 2 carries to deal with, but Ruben in the meanwhile cannot handle Kraken's power unleashed, ends up being too much. Xayris walks up a little bit too far here as I hear some more action in the live. We are taking a dragon.
Yeah, a super weird fight in that Drake secured by the red team, but in the meantime, it was a 3-split fight. Jinx versus Victor. 80 carry in the year 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Devilian picking one up.
Yeah, Xayris just ends up picking up that 1v1. Personally, not a 1v1 I'd want to take if I was Alias there, not when you're going to be winning out on, but Kraken potentially in danger. Dax trying to set up into the bush. The hook does not end up hitting death sentence, not going to be sentencing anyone to death, but you can see the pings coming on through. They know where Famal is. No Baron going to be picked up here, so they're not going to be able to get anything out of Alias dying. And this is the moment where I feel like if you're the villain, you gotta pull that trigger. You gotta get something, because death timers 30 minutes into the game, so long, you can do a lot with them.
Absolutely. 41 seconds they had to work with, and their prize is -1 bot T1. Not the payout that you're hoping for after picking off enemy carry.
And you're looking at a Jinx, right? 3 items. That is one of the main carries on the side of Ragnarok. Granted, Kraken, while does have 6 deaths, has found himself at 2 items, so definitely does a lot of damage of his own. But just, again, not able to use that death timer. Baron's still gonna be up and available, but looking at the gold lead, it does favor the side of Ragnarok. 4 items onto Alias. This Jinx is massive.
Jinx is massive, but mid on the other side, you made such short work of you, you will not be forgetting that easily. This is going to very quickly devolve into Victor versus Jinx. Sure, Aphelios contributes, and sure, Jax contributes, but Jinx versus Victor in these team fights, doing the lion's share. Just Ryan forces Ruben out of the bush, but able to disengage.
Cyrus.
Victor caught with the scatter and jumped on Just Ryan. Will finish the job with his mid, and Jinx will be excited. They move away on in. Box for a pair of slows. They throw their Thresh to the Wolves. Volibear looking to re-engage as Aphelios has jumped on next, but they go back in. Ragnarok just smashing the team fight. There's only health bars left to burn through. It is 5-for-1 triple to Jinx, and that might just wrap up the series.
The Jinx melee are too strong for the side of the villain to contend with, but like you said, the Nexus is under threat here. The Inhibitator is going to be picked up, and Ragnar are looking to take the series 2-0, and that is exactly what they're going to do, because
Yep,
look at the other
it's
side,
gonna
there's
end.
no one to defend.
14 seconds left on mid. Jinx has all the attack speed she could ever wish, and in 31 minutes, Ragnarok wrap it up 2-0.
Ragnarok with a huge win right there, and I feel like that game boiled down to kind of what I said. They ended up going for the 5v5, but Ragnarok just with better execution, with Alias being so far ahead playing around this Jinx, they end up winning pretty much every team fight. And the side of the villain tried to play the game of Ragnarok, tried to go with scaling with the team fight, and they're just not good enough at it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it took 2 steps and the game just ended. Once again, just off a cliff goes the game. All of your eggs placed in the Victor basket. Then that basket was kind of just drop kicked. In one random scatter, and you spill all your eggs onto the ground, and your breakfast is ruined.
It's unfortunately a basket made out of very small twigs, so it's not strong enough to carry the egg of Cyrus, and just ends up not being enough. A sizable gold lead as well for Ragnarok to end that game on, but overall, Ragnarok, if they keep playing like this, I feel like if they can keep playing the 5v5, get these drafts where they get the Milia, where they get the Jinx, and where they get the Jax for Just Ryan, definitely a team to be scared of going forward, and I think a great showing out of them today.
If you're looking deeper into the brackets, you need to do your homework on these team fights. As you said, this seems to be the bread and butter. Ragnarok sure might be a little wobbly here or there. Bot lane has some moments. There are situations, but facilitated by a Jax, just Ryan running around and setting up his carries for success.
It did kind of feel like Just Ryan that game was sort of always jumping on the first person he saw, and sometimes it didn't work out, sometimes it did, but most of the time he jumped in, stunned somebody, realized he can't do it, and then just walked right out, which I find quite funny, but it does mean that Ragnarok are gonna move forward and they are going to take on either Eternal Blizzard or Black Lotus. Neither matchup's gonna be easy, but like you said, Sandbag, it is gonna be all about doing your homework. I feel like no matter who you face against, because at this point you can't underestimate anybody.
Nope, not at all. Everyone's here for a reason, and anytime that you rock up from your previous fight with a 2-0, with a clean sweep, that's someone you got to pay the respect to. But making it a 2-0, that's going to do it for us, unfortunately. This was the final game and final series, meaning we're on out of here, Dessa. Any parting shots, MVPs you want to give before we wrap up?
I think overall my most impressive player of today was Kraken. That first game on the Anivia, very solid, sort of just knew his quest, knew what to do. Second game as well, granted, the early game was not good, but all it took was one scatter and Cyrus was gone. And so overall, I think mid lane played great on the side of Ragnarok, and definitely a team to look out for. But Sandbag, like you said, that's gonna do us for tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Sandbag, Dessa joining me, and as always, the beloved Pepper. We may be missing solo kills, but making it happen all the same. Love you, buddy. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one. Take care.